Pro Group Management. Workers' comp that works for you.
This is Nevada Newsmakers with Sam Shad, political analyst Ande Engleman on No Holds Barred Political Forum. Now, from the News 4 Broadcast Center, here's Sam Shad.
As you know by now, I'm not Sam Shad. Sam will be back in a couple of days. Our guest today, Pete Ernaut, is a very busy person. He's the Managing Director of Government Affairs and Public Policy for the Jones Vargas law firm. He also sits on the board of directors of Park Place Entertainment, which I believe is changing its name, and we'll get more from him on that. And he sits on the advisory committee for the Center of Basque Studies. He's even into genealogy. Pete, thank you so much for being with us today. You didn't know I knew all that, did you?
I thought you said I was into Scientology. I was going to correct you.
No. Genealogy. As I told everybody at the beginning of the show, which you didn't see, when Karl Rove wants to find out what's going on in politics in Nevada, he calls you.
Well, you know, I had the opportunity to meet Karl a few years back. What a lot of people don't know is that Karl came from right here in Sparks. In fact, a little history, Karl Rove lived next door to one of our famous lobbyists around town, Harvey Whittemore, and they were childhood friends. And Karl went on to Texas and obviously bigger and better things, and we certainly kept in contact. In fact, his sister is married to a lifelong friend of mine, and they still reside here in Reno. And so, yeah, it's a neat story. Karl's a good friend.
I never knew there was such close contact between Nevada and the White House.
Well, it just proves that the political epicenter of the world is Nevada. So.
Oh, okay, all right. So does that mean the president's now going to visit us?
I'm hopeful that the president is going to make a visit here in the next month or so, but you know, obviously with world affairs as they are, those are kind of tentative plans, but I'm hoping that...
Well, Pete, he gets every place else.
Well, no, that's true. You know, unfortunately, Nevada is a small state, and sometimes we get to the end of the pecking order, but I think he'll be here sooner rather than later. In
the last election, the end of the pecking order meant that we were the 4 votes, the electoral votes that put him over the top.
Right.
You don't think you ought to come here and say thank you?
Well, I think that some of that's a little bit coincidental, that we were the 4th vote. In fact, or the 270th vote. In fact, Bill Raggio cast that 270th electoral vote. But you know, the president will be here, and Nevada's important to him. We've had a lot of visits from the cabinet, and a lot of attention paid to us. So I certainly don't feel left out.
You are, in fact, working on the president's re-election campaign here in Nevada.
I am, yes.
You're going to be handling the advertising?
Well, no, actually, the advertising is all handled through the campaign out of Virginia. But you know, there's quite a few folks here with the governor, obviously, the Attorney General Brian Sandoval, Senator Ensign, among others, on the steering committee, and we kind of serve in an advisory role. And I serve probably more in a technical and role, a message role. If there's issues that they may want to tailor to Nevada that they need some help on, I help probably a little more technically than the elected officials.
Okay, in fact, you are known for your campaign style. The word juggernaut is said to emanate from your political style as far as advertising and so forth. And people say that they really don't like to go up against you in a campaign. You're a pretty tough campaigner. As you ran, let's see, you ran Brian Sandoval's campaign and the last campaign for John Ensign.
Well, I've been really fortunate, obviously, to have some great clients to work with, whether it's the governor or Senator Ensign or the Attorney General. I've had some hardworking clients, and certainly they make me look probably a lot better than I deserve.
Well, that's the right thing to say. All right. Are you planning on getting involved in the Senator Reid race?
No.
On either side? You
know, I got to tell you, Andy, for the first time in 10 years, I'm not going to have a statewide campaign to run, and I'm relishing it. I plan to spend a lot more time with my kids. I spend a lot more time with my fly rod and my shotgun, and do a little hunting and fishing that I've been putting off for quite a few years now because all my falls have been just a little busy.
So you're going to stay out. You're not going to help if Brian Kurlicki or Dean Heller decide to run against Harry Reid. You won't be helping either one of them in the campaign.
Well, Brian Kurlicki and Dean Heller are my friends, and certainly in so much that they would seek my help, I would obviously offer them advice. But I don't plan to be in any type of paid role or formal role with anyone.
Oh, okay. Well, we're going to take a break now, and we'll be right back and talk even more politics.
Hi, I'm Dan.
And I'm Terry.
And this is Dan's Pizza and Parlor. Everything we make here is from scratch. Our fresh cut fries, homemade hamburgers made to order, fresh pizza dough made with 3 types of flour, and Terry's secret pizza sauce, and Dreyer's world-famous ice cream. And if you have a sports team, your kids can really have a great time here. Oh! Dan's Pizza and Parlor on Victorian Avenue, just down the street from Great Basin Brewery next to Pyramid Highway.
Would you like to savor a Trento pork chop? Or maybe pasta rags with grilled chicken? Hugo's Tuscan Grill at D'Andrea is a celebration of color, flavor, and freshness. Each dish is created from natural, wholesome foods that is delicious and nutritious. Hugo's is a comfortable restaurant with breathtaking city views. If you enjoy great food and good company, visit us here at Hugo's. It's the best that dining can be. 2900 South D'Andrea Parkway in Sparks.
Welcome to Sushi Club, best sushi in town. The Sushi Club in Independence Square uses the best quality products. The sushi is dynamite, and the service is just wonderful.
The Sushi Club is bigger and better. We have 11 sushi chefs on staff, and the service is great.
All your friends will tell you that Sushi Club is the best place for the best sushi.
Come join us for lunch or dinner.
The Sushi Club, 294 East Moana Lane in the Independence Square.
Now that's great sushi.
To experience the royal cuisine of India, you need some serious magic or simply transport yourself to India Garden, right here in Reno, where you'll discover Indian specialties refined over centuries. Sikh kebab, tandoori dishes cooked in our own tandoor oven, biryani specialties, curries, fresh-baked Indian bread, over a dozen vegetarian dishes, even dishes rare to India like dosa, South Indian-style crepes. India Garden off South Virginia near Sports West. We are India.
And now, back to Nevada Newsmakers with Sam Shad and Ande Engleman.
And we're back with Pete Ernaut. Pete, let's talk about politics as far as the legislature is concerned. We had an interesting session. You have been a lawmaker. You've been an assemblyman. In fact, in 1997, you tied with Richard Perkins for the #1 assemblyman in the state. You have helped to oversee a divided assembly where it was an equal number between Republicans and Democrats, and you had to work together. What happened this session?
Well, it was a tough session. I mean, obviously, there were some very important issues that we had to discuss, taxes being chief among them, and I think there were some very big disagreements of how to solve that problem. But, you know, it was an important debate, and whatever happened and however long it took, it's over now. I think it's time for this state and its business community to get back together, to heal, and look forward to the next few years of what we're going to do in education and healthcare and making a really good business community a reality here in this state. This was a particularly difficult session. Raising taxes are never easy. Everybody has a different opinion of it. Some opinions are we shouldn't ever do it under any circumstances. But I think most reasonable people came to the conclusion that some taxes needed to be raised. We had a spirited debate over 172 plus days. And at the end, 2/3 of the legislature agreed with one package. The governor signed it. It's law, and it's time to move on.
All right, let's get a little forecasting from you. Can the Republican Party, and you've been a Republican since before you were born, because your mother, Nancy Ernaut, was active in the Republican Party. So can the Republicans pull back together and heal this breach between the conservative branch and the moderate branch?
Oh, sure. You know, this is the pendulum always swings. You know, 2 years ago was the argument of whether the Democratic Party could heal the rift between the liberals and the moderates, the liberals wanting to pull it left and the moderates wanting to pull it to the center. These are just cyclical things that both parties go through. They're brought on by debates about taxes and other public policy. And you know, I don't see it as a deep rift. I think it's something that'll be healed. Certainly, the presidential race that's upcoming, I think, will serve as a catalyst to bring this party together and congeal behind one candidate and re-elect our president.
Well, all right, we've got conservatives down in Las Vegas, Ann O'Connell, Barbara Sagaski, and Sandra Tiffany, who are doing their own fundraiser for money, separate from the one that Senator Raggio is doing for the Republican Senate. I mean, this clearly sends a message, certainly to businesses and people that contribute to these fundraisers, that there's a split.
Well, you know, everybody manages their political career differently. I think that having conservative folks in the legislature, and moderate folks in the legislature, and liberal folks in the legislature is what makes the system tick. We need those divergent points of view. As I'm fond of saying, if we all agreed, we wouldn't need a legislature. That's the whole point. You know, different caucuses handle their affairs differently. I certainly don't want to get into discussing the particulars of that. I'm sure Bill Raggio and Senator O'Connell and those will work out any disagreements they have.
Can the Republicans take over the Assembly this time, do you think?
Well, you know, I think a lot of that has to do with the national political landscape, you know, which I don't think anybody can really predict at this moment. But if President Bush was to win a landslide, I think that the coattail effect would be enormous. And certainly they have an opportunity to take over. If it's a closer election, or if, you know, God forbid, the president wasn't reelected, I think they'd have a tougher time.
Because obviously that will pull the Democrats out to the polls and make their voting heavier.
Well, one of the things you have to look at too is after reapportionment in the session before this, there's quite a few more safe Democrat assembly seats than there are Republican assembly seats, and I think that Republicans do really well to get 18, 19 seats, about where they are right now. So they'd really have to have a miracle to go the next 2 or 3 seats. But hey, we've seen it before. In 1994, it happened, and it could certainly happen again.
Let's talk about leadership a minute. I know that when you were in leadership in the Assembly, you always reached out to members of the other party so that you could bring some sort of coalition together for votes. We didn't see Richard Perkins do that this time. Has Richard Perkins really sort of hurt himself as far as, I know he wants to be governor at some point in time. Has he hurt himself politically this last session?
Well, I don't think he's hurt himself, but you know, it's a different place. The legislature is a different place even from 1995. I mean, I think that the spirit of collegiality has somewhat evaporated. I think there's a lot more partisanship. There's a lot more politics being played. And that's sad, because I think Nevada always prided itself on being independent, and prided itself on reaching across the aisle and being bipartisan or nonpartisan. And I see that that's slowly eroded over the last few years. And I hope that there's a turnaround, but you know, it's a little disappointing.
Do you think that clearly there was a competition between gaming and businesses in this last session of the legislature? Will gaming work with business a little bit more, do you think, now?
Well, I hope so. I mean, I think there was just a fundamental disagreement on how to solve a very important problem in this state. That doesn't make either side right or wrong. Everybody had very passionate viewpoints of how to solve this problem, very different viewpoints. But I think it's important that the gaming community and the small business community come together. If you really think about it, what other state do we actually think of gaming as being different than the business community? I mean, they're 70% of the business community. Right. It's kind of crazy. But, you know, there was I think some hurt feelings this session on both sides. I think some folks learned a lot that this state operates a lot better when those two entities are together and not apart.
Great, thank you. Oh, wait, real quick, just Mr. Republican, who's going to win the California race?
Arnold, all the way.
Okay, what else would we expect him to say? We'll be right back with the Pundit panel.
Before you head to Carson, take care of yourself with a visit to Tamarack Junction. Catch a hot cup of coffee and the morning news on one of our 32 TVs and enjoy the best food in South Reno. Tamarack Junction, your junction for fun. South Virginia and Amati Ranch Parkway.
The Abowd family has an appetite for dialogue. Agree or disagree, have the conversation. All opinions are welcome. Since 1977, Adele's.
Today's lesson, another reason to take the Gold Rush Club Card Challenge. With the Gold Rush Card, you really have 3 cards in one. Use your cash back. You still keep your comps and drawing tickets. Use your comps. You still keep your cash and drawing tickets. And with your drawing tickets, you could win thousands in cold hard cash every week. And still keep your cash back and comps. Does your club add up? Graduate to the Gold Rush Players Club. It's the smart thing to do. The Gold Dust West, south on Keystone, east on 4th.
When you sign up for Wells Fargo free checking, you get more than free checking. You get the freedom to bank when and where you want. Wells Fargo, the next stage.
Make your daily commute easy with breakfast or lunch at the Tamarack Junction. Enjoy daily specials, super fast service, and South Reno's freshest morning meals. Tamarack Junction, your junction for fun. South Virginia and Amati Ranch Parkway.
And now, back to Nevada Newsmakers with Sam Shad and Ande Engleman.
And we're here with the pundit panel. I think sometimes we ought to keep the cameras rolling between these takes, because what goes on in the discussion in the studio is sometimes a little livelier than what goes on with our pundit panel. We have Paul Enos and Mary Lau and Chris Barrett. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
All right, well, let's start with the interview with Pete. You all heard it. And what do you think about his estimation of business and gaming getting together? And he's right, it is interesting we separated gaming from the business community.
I think that when we came down to the end of the session, and when the business community and the gaming industry decided, okay, we need to pass a tax, and everybody kind of coalesced around the modified business tax, we got something done. And I think that does show that business and gaming, when they can work together, work a lot better than when they're butting heads.
Well, that's very politic of you to say, Paul. Can we hear a little reality, Mary?
Yeah, actually, when gaming finally realized that they weren't going to force a tax on business that business didn't want, business always said, we will come forward and pay a tax. But just like gaming wants to control their destiny within their statutes, the business community as a whole wants to control their destiny. And we ended up with a good tax that now it's problems on implementation because of the writing of it, but it was fair and it was broad-based. If you're going to assume that gaming and business can work together, then they probably have to assume that business has a say in their destiny and they don't just dictate to business what's going to happen. And that's been the problem. I don't agree with Pete's assumption that it's 70% of Nevada business is gaming. I do agree that gaming is a business too. I mean, it's not two separate entities,
so,
but unfortunately...
Why do we do that? Why do we look upon it as two separate entities?
Well, it's sort of been the political speak for years, because gaming has set them out separate and above from the rest of the community of business. And they're not separate and above from. They use more services than we do. They have different wage scales and everything else. We are in business together in the state of Nevada, but it's about time that everybody works for business in the state of Nevada.
But haven't they been more active in the political field than other businesses?
Well, sure, yeah. Well, in some respects, yes. Gaming is the #1 industry in the state. They are very active in the state, and they have some very deep issues if they do fail in the state across the board. We're starting to see that right now. We're gaming, especially in the north, is declining. But they also are part of the business community. They've been more active in the business community, probably more proactive. They have resources that they can draw upon because they're more organized. We have the Chambers of Commerce. They try very hard to represent small business, medium-sized business across the state. So there's a different opinion of what should happen and what shouldn't happen. And all of us down at the legislature realize that it's for the best for the state. This last session was a hot one. It was a testy one, and at the end we did come together when everyone realized what needed to be done and what things were not going to be accepted in the business community.
Didn't you come together because the threat of another bill was so horrendous to all of you that there was you had to come together? Because they were going to pass SB 6 over in the Assembly?
I think it was more of, look, we've been here long enough. We've debated this issue for over 100 days now. What are we doing? This is getting ridiculous. We're going in circles. We have to...
was it closer to 200 days?
But I think people were getting tired. Long days, late nights. We had to put some common sense to it. And the business community stepped up. We went to leadership and said, stop, we got to get going here. This is ridiculous. We're hurting education, we're hurting the state, we're hurting business, we're hurting gaming. Let's come to a resolution now. And that's when, as I said a couple weeks ago on the show, John Marvel stepped up and showed the leadership that needed to be taken, and he did what needed to be done for the state.
One of the reasons that you saw this split, though, between the gaming and business community is how the entities are taxed. the gaming industry was not going to be taxed by the gross receipts tax as onerous as a regular business would be. Same with the mining industry. I mean, those two industries have separate and distinct taxes, and they weren't going to be taxed like all the other businesses under the gross receipts tax would. So I think that there are areas where business and gaming can come together and work together where we have similar issues. But when you look at taxes, I think that's the reason the difference in taxation is why we had the big split.
And it's appropriate that we talk about this today because the taxes go into effect today.
Yeah, and you also have to consider, we lump gaming as this entity unto itself, but there's a distinction between the smaller gaming properties and strip properties. You know, there's a lot of power, a lot of money, a lot of stuff that comes off that strip.
In Las Vegas.
In Las Vegas, but it's not necessarily the gaming community as a whole that benefits from it. You know, Northern Nevada has already seen the influx of Thunder Station, Thunder Mountain or so. It amazed me to continually see newspaper spreads on that casino.
Okay, we have a lot of laws that went into effect today. Which one of those laws, other than taxes, do you like or dislike the most?
I'll have to say my favorite of the new laws that will go into effect today is the anti-spamming law, the one that requires an advertisement to say it's an advertisement when they send it to you in your email, so you know you don't have to open the million Viagra ads that you get every day.
I get those too, I want you to know.
Yeah, we all do.
Mary?
Basically, the best laws are the ones that didn't pass, as far as I'm concerned. We don't need more laws. But they did do a lot of consumer protection issues. There was identity theft legislation that went out and went into the public arena, where there was incidences in other states where public officials were selling lists and stuff. That has been passed in Nevada now as being illegal. Over-the-counter drugs, the non-manufacturer, the non-name brand drugs and stuff like that. There were some good consumer issues that were passed this time.
Paul?
Chris.
Chris? I'm sorry.
Is that better? You know, there were, 1,500, 1,700 bill drafts in, and I was so busy running around on this tax issue. I was only down there for that issue, so I didn't cover a whole lot of them. But there were some interesting laws that were introduced, bill drafts introduced. One was requiring to put your left turn signal on as you entered the freeway to get into the slow lane.
I thought you already had to do that.
Well, that's what I learned when I took my driver's license.
The law that I am really upset about is this one, and while I believe in keeping people safe on the roads, it's this one about you can go to jail if you're caught speeding in a construction zone. And a construction zone is now defined as anything that's got an orange cone, and they're giving me signals we're out of time. We'll be right back after this.
Big Apple Pizza, best pizza in Nevada, take one.
Today we're making homemade meatballs for a meatball parm. You like cheesesteak? I think you're like in South Philly right now. It's the best cheese ever made. Now that's how a Philly cheesesteak's supposed to look.
And here's little Cole.
This is authentic. We'll throw some pepperoni in here. Not gonna be shy about it. Yeah, I bet you guys didn't know I could do that. Don't skimp on the toppings. Authentic as it gets. Big Apple Pizza and Subs on the corner of Bering and McCarran, a New Jersey guy who knows how to make an East Coast pizza.
Would you like to savor a Trento pork chop? Or maybe pasta rags with grilled chicken? Hugo's Tuscan Grill at D'Andrea is a celebration of color, flavor, and freshness. Each dish is created from natural, wholesome foods that is delicious and nutritious. Hugo's is a comfortable restaurant with breathtaking city views. If you enjoy great food and good company, visit us here at Hugo's. It's the best that dining can be. 2900 South D'Andrea Parkway in Sparks.
Hi, I'm Dan.
And I'm Terry.
And this is Dan's Pizza and Parlor. Everything we make here is from scratch. Our fresh cut fries, homemade hamburgers made to order, fresh pizza dough made with 3 types of flour, and Terry's secret pizza sauce. and Dreyer's world-famous ice cream. And if you have a sports team, your kids can really have a great time here. Oh! Dan's Pizza and Parlor on Victorian Avenue, just down the street from Great Basin Brewery next to Pyramid Highway.
Nevada Newsmakers, brought to you in part by Charter Communication.
And on tomorrow's show, Chris Wicker and I talked to Janine Hansen. Do you believe public employees should be also holding an elective office? That's what we'll be talking about tomorrow. Thank you for watching.